San Diego Global Knowledge University.
Introduction. Welcome to this session, where we'll take a deep dive into the role of commercial diplomacy and international talks in a world that's always changing, complex, and connected. In this part, we'll cover key things like handling trade disagreements, using public communication wisely, how multilateral talks work, why getting ready beforehand is important, and the role of power, partnerships, and groups in these talks. We'll also look at why countries have different abilities, why skilled people are so important, and why we need more training in this area. This journey will help us understand that international negotiation isn't just a separate or technical process, but a complex system that brings together economic, political, social, and strategic factors. The way international markets are becoming more connected has really changed how trade and economic relationships work between countries. Because of this, commercial diplomacy has become a very important skill for anyone involved in international trade, whether they're in business or government. The complexity of global markets means you don't just need technical know-how, but also the ability to work well with people from different cultures, rules, and political systems. Today, business leaders and government officials who work in international trade have to deal with many different situations, different legal systems, different business practices, many languages and cultures with their own ways of talking and negotiating. This variety means that managing international relationships can't just be about money. It also has to include political, social, and cultural parts that directly affect how any agreement turns out. Commercial diplomacy is exactly how we deal with this complexity. It's a field that mixes traditional diplomatic skills with economic and business management skills. Its goal is to make it easier to negotiate, carry out and solve problems in international trade, helping to create agreements that last and benefit everyone. The growth of trade and foreign investment has been one of the main reasons why this field has become so important. Since the second half of the 20th century, these activities have grown faster than local production in many countries, making them a bigger part of the global economy. On top of that, developing countries have started using market-focused policies and export-driven growth plans, which has sped up their involvement in the world economy. Another big factor is that production is now global. Companies have split up their production processes, spreading them across different countries to save money and use their advantages. This connection has made it more important for people in different places to work together, which means they need advanced skills in negotiation and international management. Also, there are now many more regional and international trade agreements, which has made economic relationships between countries much wider. These agreements don't just try to lower trade barriers, but also to make political and strategic ties stronger. In this way, commercial diplomacy becomes a key tool for bringing different interests together and handling disagreements in a world that's more connected than ever. In this situation, a new type of professional is emerging, the commercial diplomat. This person combines economic analysis skills with diplomatic abilities, allowing them to manage complex relationships around the world. Their training needs to cover many different areas, including knowledge in trade, law, politics, culture, and communication. Among the most important skills is the ability to negotiate. Negotiating in an international setting means finding common ground, dealing with cultural differences, and creating solutions that benefit everyone involved. This process requires preparation, analysis, and using structured methods to reach agreements that last. Cross-cultural communication is another vital skill. It's not just about knowing a language, but about understanding the meanings, values, and ways of interacting that are unique to each culture. Correctly understanding messages and being able to adjust to different communication styles are crucial for avoiding misunderstandings and making relationships stronger. Using professional interpreters also plays a big part in this process. Being precise in translating technical, legal, and cultural terms is essential to make sure negotiations are clear and effective. Plus, interpreters act as cultural bridges, helping people from different backgrounds understand each other. Commercial diplomacy also needs skills in public relations and influencing public policies. Often, trade agreements depend on government rules, so it's important to talk with officials, lawmakers, the media, and other key players. Being able to build partnerships and influence what the public thinks can be very important for a negotiation to succeed. Also, it's really important to create complete strategies that consider everyone involved and all the things that could affect the outcome. This means doing research, looking at different situations, and planning coordinated actions to achieve the goals you set. All in all, commercial diplomacy is becoming a key field in today's global world. The mix of technical, communication, and political skills allows professionals to manage international relationships effectively, making trade, investment, and cooperation between countries easier. When it comes to international trade diplomacy isn't just about direct talks between companies or governments. It also involves carefully managing public communication and solving problems at different levels. One key tool in this process is being able to influence public opinion and decision-makers, especially through things like press conferences, where the goal is to present a positive story about a certain issue. Good communication in these situations means having a clear message, being consistent in what you say, and using a professional tone that builds trust. It's not just about giving information, but about creating an understanding of the facts that makes sense and is important to the audience, including the media, authorities, and the general public. How arguments are presented can really change how a trade dispute plays out. In situations where there are disagreements, like those about health rules or trade barriers, the people involved need to be able to back up their claims with technical, scientific, and legal proof. This means knowing a lot not just about the product or service, but also about the national and international rules that govern trade. The arguments need to include both money-related and non-money-related things, considering aspects like health, safety, the environment, and following international agreements. When direct talks can't solve the problem, people often turn to formal ways of settling disputes, like international panels. In these settings, being able to build a strong case is super important. This includes showing clear evidence, correctly understanding the rules that apply, and accurately responding to the other side's arguments. Solving disputes in these forums needs a mix of technical knowledge, legal skills, and the ability to convince others. The tricky part of these processes is the wide variety of topics that can be involved. A trade conflict might need knowledge in areas like biology, engineering, economics, international law, or logistics, depending on what the problem is. So, a trade diplomacy professional doesn't need to be an expert in all these fields, but they do need to be able to find the right experts, ask the right questions, and put all the information together to build a clear argument. Also, trade diplomacy isn't just about disagreements between governments. Many disputes happen between companies from different countries about things like contracts, product quality, delivery times, or responsibilities in the supply chain. In these cases, there are other ways to solve problems, like mediation or arbitration, which can resolve conflicts more efficiently than traditional court cases. Success in these processes really depends on getting ready beforehand. Before taking a problem to government or international bodies, the companies involved are expected to have tried hard to solve the conflict directly. This not only makes better use of official resources, but also strengthens the position of the party that shows they acted carefully. Managing disputes also means thinking about the costs if things go wrong. Not having good trade diplomacy skills can lead to big money losses, damaged business relationships, and strain on institutions. On the other hand, good management not only solves problems but also builds stronger long-term relationships and creates new chances to work together. All in all, trade diplomacy is a complete field that combines talking, communicating, technical analysis, and smart planning. Doing it well helps make trade easier, solves conflicts, and encourages international cooperation in a world that's more connected than ever. Trade diplomacy in the international world doesn't just rely on technical skills or knowing markets. It also depends on being able to adjust to different cultures, politics, and strategies. Because of this, negotiation processes aren't all the same. They change based on the type of interaction, who's involved, and what goals everyone has. Some negotiations are more about gut feelings and personal skills, while others are more structured, These structured ones aim to find common interests and come up with creative solutions. You can learn and practice these structured negotiations, which opens up more chances to become a pro in this area. To do well in international negotiations, a negotiator needs a balanced personality. Being too rigid can stop deals from happening, but being too flexible can make your own position weak. Being able to understand the other side's view, keep your goals clear, and find common ground is super important for getting good, lasting results. One of the biggest challenges in the global world is that countries don't have equal negotiation skills. More developed countries have strong organizations, expert teams, and technical resources that back up their positions. On the other hand, many developing countries struggle with limited training, experience, and institutional structure. This puts them at a disadvantage in negotiations. This situation shows we need to build up local skills through training programs, developing institutions, and working with other countries. Because of these differences, a good plan for countries with fewer resources is to build alliances and work together. When several countries come together with shared interests, it boosts their negotiation power and helps even the playing field against stronger players. Also, working with businesses and international groups can help strengthen their positions and increase their influence. Another key thing is to develop skills through school and professional training. Usually, negotiation skills were learned by doing, through a slow process of gaining experience. But this way is slow and expensive. Adding formal training programs helps speed up skill development, reduce mistakes, and improve performance from the start. Getting ready before a negotiation is super important for it to succeed. A big part of the results depends on how good the analysis is, how clear the goals are, and how well the strategies are planned. Not being prepared can lead to long negotiations that focus on small details instead of moving towards real agreements. So it's essential to have reliable information, good analytical skills, and coordination among key players. In this process, how the government and private businesses work together is really important. Trade negotiations are usually led by government representatives, but the effects directly impact companies and industries. If they don't talk to each other, agreements might not really fit what the market needs. That's why it's a must to set up ways for them to coordinate, so private sector knowledge can be included when planning negotiation strategies. Also, we need to build a strong base of research and analysis to support negotiation positions. This means having experts who understand not just the country's own economic stuff, but also how international trade works, including rules, subsidies, market structures, and competition. Without this base, countries can't really come up with new ideas or effectively stand up for their interests. A lot of times, developing countries tend to play defense, focusing on not losing something instead of creating plans to gain benefits. This way of thinking limits their negotiation power and reduces chances to get big advantages. So, it's really important to move towards more active strategies, based on clearly understanding their own interests and finding opportunities. During the negotiation, one of the main challenges is managing information and coordinating between everyone involved. Negotiations can have unexpected changes, which means there needs to be smooth communication between the negotiators and the affected industries. Being able to adapt to new situations and adjust strategies quickly is key to keeping the process consistent and effective. All in all, trade diplomacy is a complex process that needs preparation, balance, knowledge, and coordination. Building up skills, forming alliances, including the private sector, and creating active strategies are all essential for dealing with the challenges of the international world and getting good results in negotiations. The way international trade talks work is really complex. It's often surprising and needs a lot of technical skill. Unlike what you might think, these talks don't go in a straight line or always as planned. Instead, they're full of unexpected turns, sudden ideas, and the need to make quick decisions. This means negotiators have to be able to react fast and get advice from experts quickly to change their plans when needed. One of the most important parts of this process is really knowing the technical stuff being talked about. Today's talks cover very specific areas. So, negotiators need to understand not just the basic rules of trade, but also the small details of the industries involved. If they don't have this knowledge, a country or group might not be able to protect its interests very well. But talks aren't just about technical skills or good arguments. A key part is power. This isn't just about money, but also about being able to form teams and alliances. In the international world, when countries with similar goals work together, they can have more influence and stand up to stronger players. History shows that well-organized groups can make big progress in tough negotiations. Market power also plays a huge role. If a country can offer access to its market, that's a powerful tool in talks. It makes other countries want to agree to things. This needs to be handled smartly and be part of the overall negotiation plan to get the most benefits. Another important part is the political side of negotiations. When countries try to open up trade, groups that want to protect their place in the market often push back. These internal pressures affect what governments decide and must be thought about as part of the bigger picture of the talks. So, negotiators not only need to build international alliances, but also get support within their own countries. Because of this, talking with people like consumers, importers, and different industries can be super important to counter those who want to protect their own interests. Building alliances at home makes a country's negotiating position stronger and helps agreements get put into action. Another key thing is what happens after the talks. Often, agreements need to be explained, tweaked, and renegotiated to actually work well. This means the negotiation process doesn't end when a deal is signed. It keeps going as it's carried out. Being able to manage this stage is vital to make sure the expected benefits actually happen. At the same time, training negotiators becomes a top priority. Trade processes are getting more and more complicated, so we need highly skilled professionals who can combine technical knowledge, smart strategies, and an understanding of the political world. While some skills come with experience, structured training helps people learn faster and do better. Also, talking to the public, especially through the news, is a very important tool in trade diplomacy. How things are presented affects what people think and what political decisions are made. This shows how important it is to be good at managing information and working with the press. Putting it all together, these things show that doing well in international negotiations depends on being prepared, having knowledge, using good strategies, and being able to adapt. Good training, building alliances, and managing the whole negotiation process are key to handling the challenges of a world that's more connected than ever. Conclusion. The analysis we've done shows that business diplomacy and international talks are very structured. They need good preparation, knowledge, and smart plans. The proof tells us that doing well in these talks really depends on how well you prepare, how much you know about the topics, and how good you are at handling information, making strong points, and changing with new situations. Also, it's clear that power in negotiations isn't just about money. It also includes being able to form teams, build groups, and manage both what's happening in the world and what's going on at home. When governments, businesses, and people work together, it really helps make their negotiating positions stronger and makes it easier to put agreements into action. Another important thing we found is that talks don't end when an agreement is signed. They keep going when it's time to understand and carry out the agreement. This needs extra skills to handle what happens next. Plus, talking to the public and working with the media are key tools that affect how people see things and how the talks turn out. Lastly, we realize that training and building skills in business diplomacy are super important to handle the challenges of the global world. Organizations and countries that put effort into preparing skilled professionals will be in a better spot to protect their interests, make lasting agreements, and grab the chances that the international economy offers.
San Diego Global Knowledge University, Education Beyond Boundaries.